Hello, and welcome to the W.A.I.T channel. What Am I Thinking? A podcast where two sisters share uplifting conversations on fun and sometimes serious topics. Hello, and welcome to the W.A.I.T channel. What am I thinking? Well, today we are thinking about mean girls and shade assassins. Are they the same? Is there a difference? Can you just be one, or could you be both? Well, to kick this off, Lori, let's start with the Real Housewives of Miami. They're currently still on. They are about to wrap up their season. And since they have returned, there have clearly, in my mind, been two mean girls, Alexia and Marisol. People love Alexia, and I want to say a lot of people might love Marisol too. Alexia is actually a Real Housewife, and Marisol came back to the show as a friend of the show, but she's on there. That's one thing I have to say about Miami. Their friends of the show are featured just as much, if not more, than the ones who are actually housewives. So I don't know what the difference is in their check, but they get a lot of airtime. And the relationship between Alexia and Marisol, it's nothing wrong with being bros. It's nothing wrong with y'all being good friends. They've had their issues this season, but it always comes down to them siding against others in such a mean and nasty way. Nicole seems to be one of their prime victims, and a lot of people on social media have called it out as just jealousy. And I don't like to say jealousy because I would hate to think grown women would be jealous of each other. She has some things going on in her life that people may envy. Her partner is, whatever he does, he seems to be quite good at it. She is an anesthesiologist, and so she makes her bank as well, and they're living well. And they seem to want to always find a way to throw her under the bus and try to get the other girls to find some fault with her. So I know you're not a fan and have not joined the band of watching Real Housewives of Miami, but I believe you got to see the pair on the Ultimate Girls Trip. So what's your take on their dynamic?
The mean girl element for Miami is a large part of the reason I checked out a long time ago. And even this season, when I tried to step in just to see the dynamic, had anything changed, I very quickly saw nothing had changed. Marisol and Alexis, they are just two people. It's almost like this elitist type. Alexia, I'm sorry. See, I even checked out of her name. They have this elitist type of behavior where they feel and they act superior to other people around them. And in so doing, they feel that gives them carte blanche to just be mean.
Yeah. And Alexia she shows her hand, but then wants to kind of back off a little bit. Not even a lot, but just a little bit when she gets called out. And her name is escaping me, but the one that's married to Martina, I hate that her name is escaping me because I really like her. She has been trying.
Is it Julia?
Julia, yes, Julia. She has been trying to forge a friendship with Alexia, but she started the season by calling Marisol out as a big part of the problem in the group, which if she had added Alexia's name to it, she really would have been totally correct. But even though she has been trying to form a friendship with Alexia, she still has caught her on the carpet for things that bother her. I really like that about Julia. Now, sometimes she misses it. Sometimes she kind of misunderstands. But she even called Adriana out for something where Nicole was getting blamed for something that was totally Adriana's fault. And even though Adriana is her good friend, she called it out. So I love that about her. And Gertie tries to do it as well. But it's just one of those things that I don't understand why they have such a huge fan base with the way they behave. And all it tells me is that people like mess. And I guess that's why they're drawn to them, because they are both messy and they're both mean. And the way they did Adriana last year, yes, she misspoke. She should not have mentioned Frankie's name. She should not have said anything. But they really targeted her to try to ice her out of the group. And I don't like that. I don't like when they do that, because you all are on the same program and you should learn how to play nice in the sandbox. So that's my take on those two. Who do you want to talk about next?
Let's talk about the Real Housewives of Potomac. Now, recently, I'm not sure if people are aware of the article that was written by Essence Magazine. Would you say that it was primarily colorism that they were talking about, Tracy?
They focused on colorism and culture when it comes to the Nigerian culture, and them portraying it in a less than appropriate manner, and basically saying reality TV is not the space when you don't know what you're talking about.
So when we look at Mean Girls, or who is our shade assassins on this show, I think that when they did the article, they kind of pointed out some very mean behavior by certain cast members that for the past few years have been maybe not labeled mean girls, but the label does fit. We have Giselle, Robin, and Ashley. And their behavior, it just seems to me, it's like it is escalating each season, and they feel just emboldened to do and say things. And I love Candace's line when she said how the line just keeps moving.
Goalpost.
The goalpost, right. The goalpost keeps moving.
Yep.
Certain things you cannot do to them, but they feel that they have the right to do it to you. And that just, for me, that just is that typical bully on the playground that wants to pick out people. They want to harass them and walk away like their hands are clean. They haven't done anything, and they had every right to do what they wanted to do. Those are my three mean girls. Now we know who the queen for shade assassining Candace. And we're going to give a vice role to Wendy.
Yeah. So I would agree that on that show, the Green-Eyed Bandits are the mean girls, and Wendy and Candace being the best, are shade assassins. Karen is good humor, and she her shade doesn't always land. Hint, hint, even her tagline has to be explained. If you got to explain your tagline, it's not a good tagline. So the fact that she says, I am the fence, what the heck are you talking about?
I don't even know what she's talking about, honestly. You
have to explain it. Like, if you got to explain your tagline, it's not a good tagline. So she's good for a good laugh, and she can do some one-liners, but that's how I would divide it up as far as who are the shade assassins. NECA, she needs to figure out who she is and why she's on the show at this stage, to me, because she is trying to ingratiate herself to the Green Eyed Bandits. And less the green eyes, Mia would probably fall over there too. But, she's also, at least in the last episode, trying to forge a friendship with Candace, I guess. I don't know what's real. But I do not like how they continue to have this double standard. And the lunch that Robin had with Candace was just disingenuous. She, of course, we know she didn't come there to try to fix anything. She is set on wanting to be mad at Candace for telling the truth. And the truth is, even if she wants to say it wasn't about her saying she was fake, that it was more about her thinking that they plotted with all they did with her husband. And so I would say this to Robin: even if Candace is wrong and you all didn't plot to do this to Chris, you are friends with two women who chose to wait till the cameras were running to talk about her husband in a way that was very harmful. It wasn't just harmful to their marriage, but you made it seem as if he had done something criminal. And yes, you did side with Candace on the show, but by the time the reunion came around, you were silent and you were not standing up for what you know is right. And you let your friend give a half apology and to act as if that was okay. But here you, who was definitely wrong for not, I don't care if it was over in your marriage that happened. The incident that Giselle is talking about happened at the end of the previous season. So it was over too, but yet she needed to bring it up on camera to Candace. So that doesn't fly, that because you all were past it, you didn't feel you needed to bring it up. You could have had a private conversation with Giselle on the show and say, woo, me and Juan been through some things, but we made it through. You should have acknowledged something. And you're just being mean by trying to ice Candace out and say you guys are not going to be friends with her. What do you have to say, Lori?
I think the final point that I would say with regard to the Ashley, Giselle, and Robin is that they are thin skinned.
Yes.
They can dish it out, but they cannot take it in. And especially that Ashley, as much as she says, I just want the truth, I just want it out there, the moment you call her on the carpet or you bring up something, she lashes out in a very mean, vicious way. And she's disingenuous.
Yeah, and they did not hold Robin. They're worried about Robin having blinders on related to what's going on, but they never really called her out for not discussing it on the show, and that was wrong. And when they wanted to say Candace was wrong about her going behind the paywall and talking about it, yeah, that was wrong too. Because you have a whole show that's supposed to be real about your real life, and you acted as if you were fine that whole season and that you hadn't been through anything, and it was wrong. So
And
yeah,
it's also okay for them to have a shady show where they talk about people, they say all manner of negative and mean and unsubstantiated things, and that's okay for them.
Yeah, so I wouldn't know what they really say on their show because I've never listened to it, but it's called Reasonably Shady. So if you're going to name a show Reasonably Shady, you're going to be talking about some things that don't land actually in the lane of truth. And I have heard something, and the thing is, they get it wrong on stuff quite a bit themselves, because I have heard about some of their missteps on the show, even though I haven't listened to it. So I'm like, you have zero ground to try to, and let's not forget Giselle's flimsy reason as to why she doesn't want to be friends with Candace. After she has drug her husband through the trash and the mud, her flimsy reason is supposedly death threats because of what Candace said about calling her white or whatever. And it's like, go sit down, Giselle.
Okay.
Everybody on there has dealt with people saying things and even death threats because they don't like them. So for you to say this is your first time dealing with that and it's because of Candace, no, it's because of you.
Okay, moving on. Married to Medicine. I'll let you start off with this one, Tracy.
So this season, and I would say even in some past seasons, Heavenly has stood out as a mean girl all the time. But in the shadows has been another mean girl that we probably have given a pass to, and that's Dr. Jackie. She has teamed up with Heavenly in more ways than one. Heavenly may be the one throwing the stones and the bombs, but Jackie is her back there and probably has loaded the weapon for her to help her throw it. And we see it a little bit more. She's shown her hand a little bit more this season, and it's my understanding that this next episode that there's going to be another little rift kind of blow up and not so happiness that Heavenly is going to kind of do on Dr. Jackie's behalf, I believe, regarding Simone and this trip to Hilton Head. But those are the two that I would identify as the mean girls. And I would say the shade assassins on this show, I would give it more to Toya and Simone. What do you say?
I would too. I know that they actually bought Phaedra on hoping that she would bring that element. Now in her confessionals, she does.
Yeah,
But
she is.
yeah, we're not really so much seeing the interaction that we did from the Atlanta show, but I'm not even sure if maybe it's production that's doing that or if they're just trying to show her in a different way. But I agree, Toya and Simone, they know how to throw some shade. However, what I also would say, I know that Toya gets a bad rap. A lot of people do not like Toya. I think Toya is misunderstood. I think she can be on 10 a lot, as well as Simone. But when you step back sometime and you see their issues, they're not invalid, it's their delivery.
Yeah, justified for sure. And I would say, even though she's not really being aired anymore, Quad is somebody who I could say probably was both.
Yes.
Because Quad can be a mean girl, but she can also be a shade assassin. So when I was saying, I think I previously said I wasn't sure if anybody could be both. She is one who I could say was both. She was a mean girl, but she could also throw her shade. So she's one that I would say could be both. But the thing is, people, while we're talking about this, should they exist in these platforms and should we be okay with it and should we be lauding it? I think the shade assassin aspect of it is more fair than the mean girls. What do you say, Lori?
I agree because I think oftentimes with shade, something has either happened or something has been said, and instead of being mean, they just use another way to either relay their message and leave it for interpretation, because sometimes the shade will land. Candace, and I know I'm skipping shows, but Candace, her shade sometimes it's like the person has to leave the room and then they're like, wait a minute, what did she just shade?
They don't even realize they've been shaded and slayed.
Exactly.
And they don't. Hers is that good sometimes where it's like you gotta, because it's smart.
Exactly.
Hers is very smart because she is quite intelligent. The other thing about hers is, like they said, like her shade will cut you to the meat. Well, that was early on before she found her niche of how to deliver it. And she has cleaned up her act quite a bit. And so I think she knows how to slice and dice where it may not be cutting to the meat, but you still bleeding a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, because that type of shade, it causes you to have to think, and in your thinking, you might be introspective.
Yeah. Now let's talk about another show that's not Real Housewives, but Southern Charm, because we had a season of some mean girl shenanigans that was, it was really, it was beyond unfair. And we're talking about the way Taylor was treated by all the other girls on the show for being a single girl who kissed, even if she slept with a single boy who dated her friend, who they were not long-term friends. They were friends for maybe a year, and she is getting slaughtered for it.
Now, I'm not sure if you named the show. Tracy's speaking about Southern Charms.
Yeah, I did. I named it.
Yeah,
I did name it, and all the other girls, Madison, Olivia, Leva, and what's the other young lady?
Benita.
Benita.
Yeah.
They all dragged Taylor this season because of that, because of what she did. They gave more grace to the guy, Austin, than they did to her. And it's like, you're going to tell me as a woman that you have never made a mistake when it comes to relationships, and it may not have been this exact thing that she did, but as women, we have all done one less than smart thing that we would wish we could take back. This was hers. Well, she did quite a few of them when it comes to the pictures she sent, but still, she is trying to get over her first real relationship hurt.
But Tracy, in that, I really feel, because I know that this particular show, Southern Charms, is what really birthed the topic of Mean Girls, because while it was happening, I know for us, each episode, well, I can definitely say for me, it was hard watching, and the way Taylor was just repeatedly singled out. And I always felt with so many things that context was missing, that we were not being given the full story to understand Taylor's behavior. I did not feel that many of the things she did, happened for no reason at all. And we found out from the reunion that the nude pictures that she was sending, something else was going on with the guys that angered her. And she lashed out in a very childish and immature way.
For sure. And then we find out, because one of our issues was we really wouldn't call what Olivia and Austin had a long-term relationship, unlike the 3 years that Taylor had with Shep. And so even in Olivia describing it, because she's saying to Shep, yeah, it was like 6 or 7 months of us being together, and him going, we're a couple, we're an item, I'm figuring it out. So it's like, girl, you really did not have an exclusive relationship for 6 or 7 months, because he would not claim you and step up and say, we are an item. You had a short window of time where he did that. And as she said herself, he'd be back and forth. So from Taylor's perspective and most of the viewing audience, you guys weren't this long-term couple. You guys were trying to figure it out. Well, he was, and so it was not. That doesn't mean that you weren't bent and weren't all into him and didn't want it and your feelings were all wrapped up. But from the outside looking in, it was not that.
And I think that from the perspective that the girls decided to take, they, instead of just not taking sides in the situation between Taylor and Olivia, they chose to believe Olivia's narrative of what she thought, of what she perceived the relationship to be. And that's where the danger in all of that was, because, as they say, there's her side and there's his
Mhm.
side. There are two
Yeah.
sides to a story, but then there's the true side to the story. And so they were making conscious decisions, conscious choices to just disregard all of that, choose a side, and alienate and demonize Taylor, which was
Yeah.
so unfair
Very
because,
unfair.
like you said, they did not do the same with Austin, especially Olivia.
Yeah, exactly. And it was sad to me because it almost made me feel as if, you guys, you want to talk about Taylor not being a friend to Olivia. You guys obviously were never really Taylor's friend, because your friends mess up. And Leva tried for half a second to be there for Taylor, but it was all of their stuff was a shame, and pointing a finger and wagging that finger in her face, like, you, this is not what you're supposed to do, or you shouldn't do this. And it was never, gosh, you have got to be going through it if these are the choices you're making. I am so sorry. This has been so difficult for you. Nobody really wanted to support her through it. They just wanted to shame her. And that was wrong. That's not good girlfriends. And Madison has been on the side of that, them trying to shame her for just being herself. And so it was disappointing to me that she tried to be, when they went on that trip, when it was just her and Taylor, she was being a little bit more to support it. But once the big group got together, the support was gone. So it was really sad to see that. And I would say, in that Mean Girls scenario, with it being 4 against 1, I just felt bad for Taylor. And I hope that she has her wherewithal to now know these are not your friends. And it would be nice for it to be another girl on there that could truly be a friend to her, because she really had better friends amongst the guys than the girls. And that was sad.
So my takeaway from all of this, I am I'm very conscious of the fact that reality TV is about entertainment. And
Yes.
people do not want to sit and just watch women braiding their hair. I understand there's going to be conflict. But where I do have a problem is women, we know historically and behavioral wise, developmentally, as we are young, we do go through certain stages. But by the time you are an adult, one would hope that you have developed better communication skills, better problem solving skills. I would like to see that. I would love seeing smart relationships between women, not women who feel that they cannot succeed or propel themselves forward unless they're stabbing somebody in the back or destroying someone's family. I don't want to tune in to see that, because that, quite frankly, is mean. And as I've also said, I do like the smart shade. I like people showing me how intelligent they are and how they can use their wit and their brain to get a point across. That I'll tune in and watch every day.
Words can be a powerful weapon, but when you choose to just be catty and mean and nasty, that's when you lose me as well. And that's, to me, checking the box of mean girl. So I am pro shade assassin. As long as you're not actually taking anybody out, everybody will live. But the mean girls, it does something to an individual, because it's like you're trying to make somebody an outcast and make them feel less than. And that's not cool.
So let us know in the comments what you think about our commentary and our feelings about the mean girls and our shade assassins. Do you feel that this is good TV, or do you also feel that maybe we can have smarter television, So tune in next time on What Are We Thinking? Like, comment, share, and we look forward to talking to you next time. Bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely ours and should be taken as such. Our thoughts are intended purely for entertainment purposes. Please do not take anything we say as fact or advice. Thank you for listening.